Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Peter Abraham. I am a second career registered nurse with extensive hospice and palliative care experience. And I've been on my journey as an end-of-life doula, also known as a death doula or life transition coach. If you're new to this channel, welcome and thank you for visiting. In this channel, we talk about death and dying. Death should not be a mystery. It should not be a stigma. It should not be a topic or conversation that we avoid because we're all going to die. So on this channel, we have conversations meant for my fellow hospice and palliative care nurses, for my fellow end-of-life doulas, for holistic nurses, for caregivers, family members, patients, and those who are interested in these topics. If this is something that you're interested in, please subscribe and hit the bell notification below. And if you like these types of topics, like this particular video, please like. It helps the YouTube algorithm. This is a very small channel and every little thing helps. So I appreciate that and I appreciate you. Now the subject for today's video is mainly for new end-of-life practitioners, predominantly my fellow end-of-life doulas, in terms of how to use Perplexity or ChatGPT or Anthropic Claude or your favorite AI agent along with Canva to create your own trifold brochure. And we're going to go through that use case. Before we get into today's discussion, I like to ask the question I ask myself at least once a day, if not several. What am I grateful for? I believe that by asking ourselves and answering truthfully, that helps us build resilience so that when life storms come and just slam us to the ground, that we're not on the ground helpless for too long. I'm not saying that we're never so sad or depressed that we just, oh, I don't know if I can take another breath. But the more resilient we are, the easier it is to get back up and work through whatever the situation that did that to us. So for me, there's three pillars for that. I'm asking you to do one of the three pillars. For me, the three pillars, my faith in Christ Jesus, working through forgiveness, and gratitude. I'm asking you to do the gratitude part with me. So in terms of what I'm grateful for is my wife, I, and our, you can't see them here. I'm using a standing desk and cameras too up high. But our puppies that both have panic attacks with the fireworks over the 4th of July, it was not a fun time. And then on top of that, my wife and I went on a walk yesterday. And here we made a decision, which is just going to be the two of us. It's been too hot for the dogs for their paws on the cement in the macadam. So we go out the door and Penny, our youngest one, and give me a moment, our youngest one decided to run underneath my wife's feet out the door, past me, and go zooming uh, towards the street leading to the highway. I got my exercise in. We did obviously rescue her. So I'm grateful that she listened to the commands. Granted, it took it twice, but I'm grateful that that worked out. I'm grateful for every one of you that's coming to watch these videos. And I'm just so grateful to be on this journey. And I really appreciate the International Dual Life Movement and everyone that's a part of cohort number 25 is just making it a wonderful difference. And for any and all of you who have signed up for Pam Carter's advanced planning class, I may not have the exact name worded correctly. My short-term memory is like this, and I'm not using a script or a teleprompter. I will put in description below. That starts August 12th through October 16th. It's twice a week for, I think, 17 weeks. But 2-hour sessions, and I'm so looking forward to that class because even though I'm offering advanced care planning now, I hope to up my game, so to speak, by leaps and bounds after taking that class. But before I go on much further, I'm guilty of rabbit trails. I'm going to now lead into the tutorial video of how I used Perplexity. Now, this is a retrospective use versus doing it live, but how I used Perplexity to help me craft a trifold brochure. Now, this is in draft format. So this is in draft format. And I forgot to print on the short edge, so otherwise it would have turned out, it would have been just flip versus, I'm not sure if I'm using the right word. I wouldn't have had to flip it over. It would have been just flipping the pages. And you'll see in the video, those prices listed are completely draft, work in progress, but I needed something to put down on paper, so to speak. Non-judgmental channel. If you have any questions, please ask in the comments below. I do my best to respond to all comments. There won't be an outro. The outro will be the end of the tutorial where I'll say thank you and goodbye in that portion. If you're like me and you're just started your end-of-life doula practice, and I've been going to different meetings and networking, and last week I shared with you a presentation that I did with the Visiting Angels of Richmond, Kentucky. So I've been out there, but I've only been developing my marketing paperwork moment by moment from a point of view. I shared with you one of the business cards. This is from Canva. Let me get it in focus. And I'm working on brochures and other types of marketing material. I like using Canva. I do have the pro version, but most of the features I'm using are available in the free version. And today I'd like to walk you through how we ended up with this. This is extremely draft. You're going to see prices on here. They are just right now, draft is the best word because I'm still working through, is that too much or too little? And just going through some internal discussions. But this is a draft product, but I'd like to walk you through, how did we get here? Where did I get this information from? What gave me the ideas on putting this together? Because I really enjoy the International Dual Life Movement. They had a Business 101 class, and I wrote a book, Business Growth. And some of this I've done in, I don't want to say past life, I don't believe in reincarnation, but when I ran a business for close to 18 years, but that was, I sold it in late 2011, early 2012. So it's been a number of years since I've had to do anything like this. But in one of the classes I took, it mentioned you should have a brochure or a packet. What should the client expect? And I'm like, I think I know what that means. I'm going to put on my nursing hat. One of the lessons I learned at Harrisburg Hospital, and they teach you this in nursing school too, is when you ask for help, try to have your own idea for what you would do. Now, granted, if your own idea, if you like, you have nothing, say you have nothing, but if you can, try to have your own idea. So I'm like, I think I have an idea, but I'm not sure. So I want to show you a use case. I ended up using Perplexity. I do have the paid version. Um, And paid is a misnomer because I forget what provider I was using, that as a benefit of using their service, they gave you a year of Perplexity for free. So later this year I'll have to renew. But I've been enjoying it for just these type of brainstorming sessions that I'm going to show you. Um, you might have Chat GPT or Claude, and in fact with Perplexity, I like using the Claude 4.0 Sonnet model. I find Claude from Anthropic to be better in terms of having a more human output compared to something that's very easy to recognize as AI. I'm not saying that Claude is perfect and you can't recognize that AI is doing the outputting. But moving on, I was like, I'm not sure what to expect. So I'm like, this is right here, what you're seeing. Now, this is after the fact. I appreciate your help today. I just had to do a press release that I'm hoping to send out after I finish my graduation, which is this month from International Dual Life Movement, IDLM. But I helped to craft me a press release, just giving it some URLs for formatting. That's very important, by the way. So here I am giving it the information. Now, just so that you know, this is an extremely long prompt. And one of the lessons I've been learning over the years that if you want quality output, you invest the time. This is not give me a what to expect brochure and expect it to give you a finished product that is going to be, very usable. It's a matter of saying, okay, what do I want you to do? So I shared with, here's my list of services offered. The only thing that's not on that page yet, I'm still working on how to do visual support. I mean, I know how to do it, but in terms of like, how do I word it? What's a fair price? Like I said, the price is on the thing. It's just pure draft. But then I gave it the individual pages for the different services. I have a Word document where I have an outreach that goes over that I put in a local Facebook group every Monday just to promote what I'm doing. And it talks about like these are the 5 areas for individuals, and these are the areas for businesses. And then I ask it here, I need 6 panels. So there's 3 panels on the outside, so 3 on the outside. Now I didn't print this, I made the mistake. So when I flip this over, this is not normal. I should have said print it on the short edge. Don't do the mistake. Don't be like Peter. Print on the short edge because most people don't flip it around. But you're gonna have 3 panels on the back, on the outside, and 3 panels on the inside for a total of 6 panels. So I'm giving it very specific instructions and from what to expect. And this is very important too. I asked, please feel free to ask questions. Try to have this as if you're having a literal conversation. I know I'm not talking to a human, and yes, you're anthropomorphizing to a point of view. But and also with a previous attachment, I have a Word document that goes over my brand beliefs. What's the vision? What's the mission statement? Uh, Different quotes and so on, all about the compassion crossing. We have the social media uh, outreach document, and then IDLM presented an image of what would be the ideal packet. Now, most of what goes in the ideal packet I've already worked through. I have the intake form customized for compassion crossing. I ended up doing that from scratch. I did review what they recommended, but it was like I need to put my own touch on it. I did do my own care plan document and so on and so forth. But the only thing that was really missing was this what to expect. And so here, this is its answer back. It's asking me questions before it drafts. Do I want to have the brochure do both or one or the other? What's going to be the process? So this is questions it's asking me. Look, this is good. Do I have a standard process? It's asking me, since visual support's not listed on the website, how would I describe it? Give some details. It's asking what are the goals for the brochure and what call to action. So here it actually gave me some preliminary steps. And then just so you know, let me do, this is how I answered. Now in the perfect world, I would have done this with you live. But to be very blunt, it's probably my autism. I'm the one that yells at the TV and so on and so forth. So when it was giving me the answers back as to what to put in each panel, it's like, I'm doing size 14. Yes, I believe I'm using the Georgia font. And like, this is like 2 pages worth that not going to fit. And granted, I wasn't that calm. So it's usually better if I go after the fact. I could be more calmer. So I'm going over like here. Part of my offering, and you might not agree to this when I showed, talked this over with my wife. You're giving up to 2 hours free? Yes, I am. I'm having the initial conversation that will determine, do we move forward or not. So I don't view that, to me, that's a sunk cost. And yes, you could say to have the on-site meeting. I know some people would go like, you're going to go and meet because you've already had the conversation. I only have part of my intake form done with that 60-minute conversation. And it's not that the intake form takes 90 minutes or 2 hours, but if you're watching this and you're an end-of-life doula or you're heading in that direction, I strongly, strongly, strongly encourage you to get a safety assessment. And how do you get a safety assessment for somebody you're going to be taking care of on site? You need to be on site. You need to be right there in person. Now, yes, there's virtual work. And if it matters with virtual, I might have to figure out a way to ethically, morally say, okay, that initial call was enough. Now we could do a contract. And maybe it's as simple as that. Sometimes I overcomplicate things. Feel free to comment below if you believe that to be true. I don't mind being teased or told I need to improve. That's the only way to grow. So, but if I'm going on site to a family, I want to make them as easy as possible. So if you're brand new at this, until you get a lot of word of mouth, till you get a lot of word of mouth saying, you use this person, he or she is the catch meow, or whatever words that they use, they'll take care of you all the way. Until you get that level of brand loyalty, I believe that we have to build trust. And for me, that's doing free workshops, free seminars out there in the community. And in this particular case, if I have a conversation with the local family, and then I'm going to go there on site, and I'm still making a decision if I'm going on site, can I do this? So if you're an end-of-life doula, so that you're aware, and I'm not telling you how to run your business. If you watch this channel for any length of time, you do you, I'm going to do me, non-judgmental space. But I'm going to be doing my safety assessment. I'm going to be asking a lot of questions with the on-site that I could not ask over the phone because I'm going to be seeing things in person. I'm going to be using all of my senses, including smell. And I'm not saying that I would turn anyone away because of an odor, or I've been as a hospice and palliative care nurse, I've been in hoarding horrible settings. But it might be like, if this is an unsafe environment where the patient should not even be there because the environment is causing the cancer or the illness, I also have to look at, I'm taking care of other people, not just this person. So there's a balancing act. And I'm not saying I would turn that person away, by the way. I literally don't know. It would be a prayer, God, what do you want me to do? Because if it's a matter that they're in that horrible situation for 3 months, God might say, I'm going to protect you for 3 months, and then I'm going to do it. Because he said, go ahead and go forth. But that's a chance on that on-site to just finalize things. And to me, going somewhere to get them to sign a contract, it's like, I view this from a hospice perspective, even though the doulas are not hospice. When the hospice person goes to do the admission, yes, they get to bill Medicare on the admission, but there's some cost as part of that equation. So I view it that way. Again, I'm open to being wrong. But I'm going here and I'm saying, if the intake, we're going to have a contract, and then I'm going over the advanced care plan, and that there'd be follow-up. And again, please keep in mind, this is draft. This is draft. And I've been transparent throughout all the videos. I do not have a paying doula client. For the year and a half that I've been practicing as a doula, all of my clients have been remote, one in England, one in India, one in New York, one in Texas. Throughout that year and a half, I don't remember if I had another one, but it's been at no charge, so there was no contract and no monetary exchange. But now that I'm doing this in Madison County, that's why we're putting this all together. So, this is what that would look like. What would a palliative care consultation, look like? What would vigil planning? Because to me, vigil is two components. The planning of the vigil, that I would, say, here's who needs to do what, i.e., I would be the conductor of the orchestra to plan it and put things in place. Like, I know this is going to be an odd comparison because we're talking about death and dying, but it's like a wedding planner. I'm not saying I planned a wedding, but it's very similar. Like you're orchestrating who's going to be where, who's going to be providing what does the patient want for their comfort. And in the book that I published about vigil planning, the vigil planning guide, there it goes into in depth as to how you execute a vigil when you're not rushed for time. Um, and so there's a lot of time doing that planning. And then there's actual sitting if they want me to be part of that team. And I do have a comprehensive plan that includes the $100 plus 10 hours of sitting. Um, then there's the legacy project planning. Shouldn't have capitalized planning, but that's just coming up with, like, let me review what your family wants, the prognosis, and so on. And here are 3 plans that fit the timeline, along with the budget. And this would be out of the crafting legacy books where they'd be getting, okay, pick A, B, or C. And for A, B, and C, these are the materials needed. This is a SMART goal: specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, time specific, budget, and so on and so forth. And then if they say go, that will be its own charge with that. That's why, again, with the implementation. And I really do like Muriel Life, which is it's a website. Gary, I mentioned this before in some other videos. Gary K created this, but it would be $250. $150 is the actual fee for Muriel Life, not for, I don't get that money. I would just open the account or give them the ability. If they want to open it up on their own, it would just be $100 on my part. But that would be to do all the coordination for using Muriel Life. This is where I got the most flack from my wife, the medication review reconciliation. You charge too much for that. Um, there's a lot involved in this. I did this as a hospice nurse, and in theory, the hospice provider should be doing this. Not everyone does. Not every nurse does. I don't want to say more because this is not about beating people over the head. I did this. It's time consuming. And I want to give them a deliverable, and actually created a website page on compassioncrossing.info that goes over the deliverable, but it's an in-depth deliverable. It's not just a handwritten list of, it's just detailed. Anyway, before I go on too long for the video, how long do these different things take? Just so that you are aware, if you're a Star Trek fan, I was doing what Scotty does with engineering, where like he tells, Captain Kirk, it's going to take 2 weeks when it really only takes 3 days, so he looks like the hero. So I'm not saying I did it that short to that long a time, but I was just trying to give myself some wiggle room with that. Uh, I ended up coming up with the decision that the brochure would only focus on the families. I'll work on a separate brochure for organizations. I just that when I was giving it the initial information, it was like, I asked it a little bit too much if I'm going to have only 6 panels to work with, and one of the panels out of the 6 is to be like the contact information. So then it came back and said, okay, your outside panels, your inside panels. And by the way, this is where I started. I did try to put it in, but it's like it didn't fit. Even that panel didn't fit whatsoever. And so then this is where I'm like, it did not fit. Um, the other thing too is, and this gets difficult. Um, AI will hallucinate. AI will throw in answers that they've not confirmed with you. So the hard part here is I mentioned part of being transparent. I don't want to ever mislead a single human being, ever. So I don't want to put in flexible scheduling, even though I try to be flexible. And to give you an example of that, even though none of you who are watching, at least I don't believe you know me personally, like we go out on trips together and so on and so forth. But I'm not spontaneous. I'm not spontaneous. I'm the obsessive compulsive planner. But here, as I'm filming this before publication on YouTube. So this is Saturday, July 5th. I'm planning on having this published on Monday, July 7th. Now, on Monday, July 7th, I've already worked through my head. I've prayed to God and worked through that if my hospice family were a companion volunteer, were to call me last minute to drive 30 minutes to their house to be there for 3 hours, even though normally that would drive me insane. I've already worked through it. This is part of the excessive compulsive planning. That if that happens, I'm going to go. I'm going to do my best to say yes. I'll be there. Smile and go. So I do try to be flexible, but I can't promise it. And because I can't promise it, I don't want to put it in writing. I don't want to put it in writing. So and that's where it's like it didn't discuss to be accurate. So here it was just back and forth, and this is where it just didn't fit again. We're now coming to, I think this might be the final version. Oh, and that's where I did create the case study. So I wanted to have it help me do a case study for medication reconciliation because of the way things work with hospice. I did not keep any of my medication reconciliations for my previous hospice patients. Um, I do my best to always obey HIPAA. HIPAA matters. So just getting back to what I ended up creating with Canva, I created an 11 by 8.5 inch folded trifold. So this is the page one is the outer section. Uh, I found this particular image when I did the presentation for the Visiting Angels of Richmond, Kentucky on the slide about hospice's main goal is a good death, which is removing preventable distress in the most cases. And I have in Canva, I have I call it the whiteboard. And it's where I collect images from different areas that I think might have future application. So that just a tidbit, if you work with Canva, you get work process in it. I don't know if I want to use the word innovations because other people have probably been doing this for years. But okay, what to expect. And by the way, even though I made a decision at the next time I order cards, instead of calling myself a life transition support guide, that's a mouthful, is going to be a life transition coach. Live and learn. And as I share that live and learn, if you're new at doing this, and even if you've been doing a doula for a year or two, as you're growing, you can change. You don't have to be stuck. I did it this way before. You could change. So me, it's like, it sounded good when I came up with the idea, and I was using it in different meetings. My Friday breakfast, my every third Tuesday business breakfast. I've been sharing the life transition support guide, but when you come here and then you try to get it fit where I was trying to use 14 font here, and it just, in order to match this up, could I go to 14? Yeah, I could, but then it was too much there. Uh, we might keep it there. So anyway, yeah, put in the logo, the contact information. Um, if you remember from here, when we go up to the contact, where are we? Da, da, da. There we go. Notice this is the URL. That would not fit worth anything. And the people that are receiving this brochure may be middle-aged. They might be, 20s, 30s. But what if they're the spouse and they're looking at this for their loved one? And that's why I wanted to do size 14 to make it readable. And even this, I cringe. Like, is that too much for them to type for the tiny URL? I did try Bitly. I may come back. I do have the URL saved for Bitly. But ready to get started, and it just gives the steps. And then the inside folds, how we work together. That's the free call, the free intake meeting, the service agreement, and then the delivery. The services, keep in mind, this is draft. The prices, I don't know if I'm going to keep these or not. And then what to expect. And this could be part of my weirdness. I know some people would have actually kept the inside panel the same. I wanted to rotate just to not, I wanted to, for lack of better words, when I use the word trick, I'm not talking about tricking people, but I know in this fast-paced world that we live in, if things look too much similar, you might think I've already read this and I don't have to go over it again. So I wanted to do something that when they got to that part, it just, it either flows or it just, that's my goal. I don't know how well it would work, but the goal of this video is just to show you that if you're struggling with, how do I create a brochure? How do I create a press release? How do I create this or that? First and foremost, you have to be a part of the picture. I mentioned in a previous video that there's a number of reasons why I don't use teleprompters and why I share that AI has a place, because if you're with a patient and a family, I don't know the appropriate words, but if you have to go, let me look this up with ChatGPT, let me look this up with Perplexity, I got to look this up. If that's how you're at with most of your visits, and you might not be even saying those words, but you're like, they ask you a question and you're on here, oh, this is the answer. They're going to know. And you might excuse yourself to them and you come back, but eventually they're going to figure out what you're doing. And I'm not saying, again, you do you, me do me. I'm not saying you're doing wrong. The issue is if you don't know how to verify the answers, like had I just copied and pasted flexible scheduling, I could be getting calls at 1 a.m. in the morning. I need to have it. I want to have that 60-minute conversation with you. I love people and I want to be out there and care for them, but that's not where I'm at yet for me. So had I just copied and pasted AI outside the back and forth, would it fit with this font and the, uh, would it fit with the font size? I could have been promising something I couldn't deliver. You have to know what you're looking for. So here, you're going to know your business. You're going to go into whatever agent you're using, and then you're going to feed it a lot the information required. I like Perplexity because I can go in here and I can attach different documents. I can attach different documents to it, and then I can have it in fine print, which we lived in the world of no fine print, but this happened to me today. I was working on continuing education courses. I'm now a part-time instructor, and I was trying to have it with, I know what to teach, but I needed help with the bullet points per slide, and just to flesh that out. And so two factors on that. One, is I fed it the information, and this was like my hospice eligibility book, my hospice prognosis book, and then I'm asking it, tell me a best way, like just bullet point, and it was spitting back out information that was completely, utterly invalid, utterly, utterly invalid. And if you don't know, you're in trouble. And then two, even with that, um, I was trying, okay, sorry, rabbit trail, or not a rabbit trail. Part of what I was trying to do today is an upcoming CE class for an international dual life movement is going to be palliative care versus hospice care. And I was asked, could I take that very extensive course or single class and split it in two? One class would just be focusing on palliative care. What's palliative care? How to have doulas have those conversations about palliative care. The whole focus is palliative, palliative, palliative. And then split it into part two, which would be helping doulas to have conversations with families that are using palliative care or not. Now we transition to hospice. How do we transition to hospice? So I'm working through this. I got part one complete. That part was easy. Find a point to cut it, add two more slides before the conclusion. We're done. Now part two. I'm like, okay, I start building part two, and I got lost. It was like, do I put this after this slide or this slide? I have the information. And yeah, hindsight, if I would have printed everything off, you can shuffle papers. That would have probably been better. I'm better with that type of activity. Give me something in writing. But I downloaded the PDF today from Canva, said, here's what I have. Please tell me, where do I put this in what order? And it gave me a laundry list. And as I'm looking at it, I knew it didn't read the document. It didn't. It was going off of something else, but it didn't read what I uploaded. And I said, you did not read what I uploaded because you said something that I should add that's already there if you saw it, you read it. So it was like, oh, I'm sorry, you're right, I didn't read. AI makes mistakes. AI makes mistakes. AI can give you false information. I cannot share that loudly enough, that as you're using AI, and I'm not saying don't use it, I was just showing you, here's a use case. But you need to know the material well enough to know when it's wrong. And I know there's people out there, there's YouTube videos out there, and I'm finishing up. There won't be an outro to this, but I'm finishing up. But there's people out there. You can learn a foreign language with this. You could teach yourself, this with AI, and everything's AI. And my fine print, my cautionary tale, is AI can hallucinate. You think I go on rabbit trails? I've seen AI go on mega rabbit trails where it's like, that's nowhere near what I asked you anything for. AI can make serious mistakes. We're end of life professionals. If you're watching this, maybe you're a caregiver for somebody that's at end of life or chronically ill and you're considering palliative care. AI can make mistakes. And if you're putting your trust in AI, no offense, it's the wrong place to put your trust, because AI can give you false information. And unless you have a way to verify it with a human being, it could be serious trouble. I don't want to go further down a rabbit trail because my intent with giving you all this information is to encourage you, not to discourage you. And we just went over here as a use case for AI. And I showed, what are the attachments? And let me just real brief. I know brief is a misnomer with me. But let me go over my brand belief document just so you see what that's all about. But that's where, I have my background. What led me to become an end of life doula? What they receive, and so that you're aware, this is not in order. This was from a class that I took, and so I ended up on the About Me page for CompassionCrossing.info. I actually reorganized this to have a more logical flow. So I started with the vision, then I went with the mission. But this is the document that I put together that I can give to Perplexity or other AI models that allow attachments. Um, and then with that, just so that you get the complete picture, I know just give you a moment, and then give me an inch and I'm taking a mile. But let me go out here to Compassion Crossing and just show you, this is like the reorganized branding, where it was like, okay, the vision, the mission statement, the position statement, the background, who do we help, what makes us different. And so that you are aware, for full transparency, a lot of this was having conversations with Perplexity in my case. This is what I know. How do I put this in a way that matches the tone of voice that I want to convey? And help me to word this and do that in a way that would work. So that's it for today. Subscribe, like, comment below. Thank you, and goodbye.